This is DSC's Untamed Heritage with host Larry Washington and me, Ken Milam. DSC's Untamed Heritage is brought to you by Dallas Safari Club,
Conservation Education Protecting Hunters' Rights,
Ruger,
Rugged, Reliable Firearms,
Hardity,
Accurate, Diddly, Dependable,
Trijicon,
Brilliant Aiming Solutions,
Burnham Brothers Calls,
Calling as Calls Made,
Texas Wildlife Association,
Working for Tomorrow's Wildlife Today,
Texas Raised Hunting Products,
The Scent Gods,
www.trailingthehuntersmoon.com,
the Hunter Conservation website.
We're here in the studio in the AM 1300, the Zone studio. We just did a great outdoors. We talked something that I've thought about, but I've never really thought about it. Lyme's disease with Kevin Engler, who was OTF, and I think we'll be going. I'm going to get hold of the Lymes.com guy bunch,
sure,
and get them on the show, because this is something that we got to get out in the media, get people to see what's going on. How long has this been going on, Larry?
I think Lyme disease really goes back about 40 years, 50 years, and it's named after Lyme County in Pennsylvania, where they first really came up with it. And it essentially is spread pretty much over a lot of the country at this point. It is basically a tick-borne disease, and I'm going to let Kevin tell us a little bit more about it here in just a little bit. But
now, do we want to, or are we going to tease another episode when we really can get into it?
Well, I think this is going to be one of those ongoing things that we're going to be talking about, is because during the different seasons, I mean, we're technically now during winter time, and the ticks are not going to be as obvious or as readily out there as they will be a little bit later on in the spring. So I think this is something that we really need to kind of revisit from time to time, because Kevin actually has had the disease, or has the disease, and I think once you have it, for the most part, you have it. So I think we need to come back but Kevin, tell us a little bit about Lyme disease, what you experienced, and kind of what it is, if you don't mind.
Sure. It's brutal. It really is. It's a bloodborne bacterial disease that's transmitted through a tick bite. And my kids at home still continually, Dad, just from a little tick. Yeah, just from a little tick. And it's the deer tick. It's got kind of a black spot on its back, and there's several different tick species in Texas, but that's the one that right now is the one that carries it. And so you got to get bitten for several days. People think, well, I just a tick bit me. I just saw it crawl in and bite me, and I pulled it out. Now I've got Lyme's disease, and it doesn't work that way. Fortunately, they got to be in, and they got to be in you for at least 48 hours. In order for them to transfer that bacteria into you, and then it builds up and grows and grows and grows until you start feeling terrible.
So once the tick gets in you, when you see that tick and he's started getting a little bit bloated, that's when you better start worrying.
That's when you better start worrying. And the one that I found, it had been in about 2.5 days, and it wasn't even swelled up. It's not like you see on a deer or a dog or anything where they're big old fat and they're huge. Right. I mean, the one in me just looked like a normal tick. I mean, it'd just been in like 2.5 days, and so we pulled it. And
when I first started seeing descriptions of Lyme disease, as far as people are concerned, they talked about it forming a rosette.
Yes.
Around where a reddish rash that kind of formed a circle around where the tick bite was.
Yeah, like a bullseye. And there's
like a bullseye.
It kind of starts out red, and you can see it spread, and there's a specific scientific name for it, Mergans, something Mergans.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But that's what they look for, and that's in about 80% of the cases.
That's where I was going, because it's not in everybody.
I never had a rash.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing my doctor looked at, and which was embarrassing where the tick bite was. It was the backside. But she's like, well, you don't have a rash, so you don't have Lyme's.
Right.
And that's the first thing she said. I was like, okay. So I went home. I didn't think I had it, and it still kept feeling bad. And I went back, and that's when they did the test, and sure enough, I've tested positive for antibodies. So that's when the journey began, and it's been an 18-month adventure up to this point, and I'm finally kind of getting on top of it and feeling human again.
Well,
question for you.
Sure.
What are some of the symptoms that you experienced, and is it the same in everybody? And then also, I know that this is kind of a three-part question. I understand that human female is affected differently by it, and sometimes more adversely than we as men or males would.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that is because men don't handle illness very well anyway, and women are a lot tougher than guys.
Well, that's
and I did say that because I have a
case.
wife and 3 daughters, so yes, I will proudly admit that. But that's actually news to me. I'd never heard that. The symptoms are different for each person. And we were talking, it kind of depends on your immune system and how strong your immune system is and what kind of shape it's in. And two, those ticks carry so many different co-infections along with the Lyme's bacteria. You get Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Bartonella. I mean, there's 4 or 5 or 6, maybe more illnesses that you can get that one specific Lyme's test won't show. So you may test negative for Lyme's antibodies, but you may have Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're still feeling bad. So the symptoms kind of depend on what other infections, co-infections, if any, you have in addition to, the Lyme's bacteria. For me, the symptoms were, and some of the bigger symptoms are joint pains, major joints like your knees, your shoulders. Mine's kind of like my neck and shoulders and ankles. Those are the areas that really affect me when it flares up. And that's the other thing about Lyme's is you can be fine, and a stressful event, a hot shower, being outside, getting too worn down, getting another type of infection, getting a cold or something like that. Anything that jacks with your immune system can cause kind of a bloom in the bacteria and make your symptoms increase. Wow. The treatment can also make you feel worse and cause the symptoms to increase because it causes what's called a Herxheimer reaction. And the Herxheimer reaction is when the bacteria die in big numbers, they dump all their toxins in your body, and that causes your symptoms to actually increase. So if you're having joint pain or flu-like symptoms, when you get a treatment like I'd go through one of my treatments, the next day I'd be wiped out for 2 or 3 days because my symptoms would increase because so many bacteria were dying, but they're dumping all that toxin into your body. So now you have to get all that stuff out, otherwise you feel cruddy for days or weeks or months, or some people, years on end, and it's, I think the hard part is getting out and getting it identified as that's what it is so they can get it treated correctly. Because if you treat it correctly early on, there's no problem with it. You can wipe it out just like any other bacterial infection.
Wow.
If you treat it early. The problem is there's not enough knowledge and advocacy in this state, and not enough doctors truly know about it and are aware of it, that it's not getting treated correctly. And people are walking around for, I'm lucky it was 18 months, but I mean, there are people gone 20, 25, 30 years.
My mother-in-law had it for over 30 years.
There you go, So it's just, and it's brutal because it affects everybody differently. There's not, it's not like the flu where you have, okay, I got this, high fever, aches and pains, cough.
Right.
Take a test, you got the flu. Know how to treat it. Lyme's is totally different because it affects different people and different people show different symptoms.
So you could have flu-like symptoms, go to the doctor and says, I think I've got the flu, and they check it for, no, you're it's probably allergy.
Or they'll say it's a virus, let it run its course. Lots of fluids and rest.
Yeah, and let it go through. But it could, in fact, even be Lyme disease.
It could, yeah. And you don't want to start, obviously you don't want to start a panic and have everybody run around thinking they got Lyme's, but at the same time, but if you're in the outdoors, you spend a lot of time outside, you're at a higher risk, and you need to do stuff to protect yourself and treat your clothes with tick repellent and get something good and be proactive about it and literally have nothing to worry about. I got it because I'm walking around in the spring in tall grass and flip-flops and shorts, filling deer feeders and stuff, and 46 years old and I still think I'm invincible, and by golly I'm not, so
not nearly as much as you thought you were.
No, and your body doesn't handle stuff like that as well as it used to either, so I kind of learned the hard way, but
So now do you wear a tick collar?
Yeah, I got a white one my wife bought me. I don't wear it out in public, but It has a little clip, you can clip a leash onto it and walk me around.
Talk about the treatment.
So there's all kinds of different treatments, and I guess that's the other thing, that there's no standard treatment for it. My doctor that I see in Marble Falls is treating it more of as a whole body holistic approach, where we do vitamins, lots of vitamins, and she checked for any kind of deficiencies that I had, and we're, B vitamins and all that stuff, and then lots of vitamin C to boost up my immune system. But she's using ozone as a treatment, and ozone, it kills everything that it comes in contact with. I mean, if you breathe it in, you're history, but they found that because it kills everything, it's really good at killing bacteria. And so you take some blood out, you treat it with ozone, it kills everything in that blood right there, and then they pump that blood back into you, where it continues to go
into your
and it goes through your blood system and gets in and kills whatever it comes in contact with. So, and the other thing it does is it super oxygenates your blood, and it's really cool when they treat your blood, because it comes out, they bring it out of a vein, so it's dark, no oxygen in it, it's just brown blood.
And it's rich.
They pump that ozone in, and it goes bright red just instantly, and comes back in. So when I leave, treatment, I mean, I feel like I could run back to New Braunfels. I could, seriously, I'm juiced. I just got, the last one was, they did 10 passes, so I had 2,500 milliliters of blood taken out, which I showed my kids. I'm like, here's a milk jug. That's how much blood they took out of Dad. The kids are freaking out, but then they treat it with that much ozone,
right,
and pump back in. So I had 2,500 milligrams of ozone pumping in me, and but you feel it in your lungs. You start coughing because it's you're expirating it out, and so you feel it.
Right.
But it works. I've had so many good days since I started doing this, and I string them together more and more, and I'm running on about a week right now of just feeling pretty darn good.
So they have to do this ozone in small little doses, at a time.
If they dosed you up with 2,500 milligrams of ozone at once, you'd be lights out, night, And the other thing is, it has to kind of build up in your body. They can't. She said most people can't walk in and take 10 passes just right off the bat, just because it's too much ozone for your body. Your body can't handle it. So I started out with 3, and then I went up to like 5, and then I think I was like 6 or 7, and then 10.
Now
it was fine. I mean, I felt this was the best reaction to a treatment that I've had in the last month. Last week, or I think it was about 3 weeks ago, that I had my previous treatment, and it was 6 passes, and I was out. I was in bed for like 3 days. I couldn't move. It just hurt. Your joints hurt, your body hurts. It just hurts to move.
That was just the releasing of all those,
and that was all that
toxin.
That toxin, those bacteria. I told my kids it's like a water balloon. There's all kinds of bad stuff in there, and then they pop like a bubble, and then all that stuff that's been making you sick because it's slowly been releasing it into your bloodstream. Now it's all at once and millions of them at a time.
That's right.
Wow.
And so like when you're sick, you go to the doctor and they give you antibiotics. It's over 10 days, right? So you're detoxing as that treatment's going on and slowly getting rid of all that stuff. So that's why most people, when they have a bacterial infection, never get that reaction, because it's a slow process. Over 2 weeks. I get it in 90 minutes. Boom, big dose of killing bacteria, and then so. But the neat thing is I haven't felt that bad after this treatment. This is the biggest treatment I've had to date, and here I am sitting here talking to you and feeling pretty good.
So likely, I mean, you've reached that cusp where now you probably on the backside.
So now I'm just working on detoxing, getting all this junk out of me, and keeping the vitamins going and strengthening my immune system to just keep it in remission and be done with it.
But the sick part is really debilitating and very dark.
It is, and it's like I was saying on the show. I mean it's really been a crucible for me getting through this. And there were 2 times I can remember specifically where I did not know if I was going to be around the next day. It was scary.
You felt that bad?
Truly terrifying. Yeah. It gives you. And again, the thing about it that's so maddening sometimes is how it affects you systemically. It affects your digestion. It affects your heart. It affects your brain. I would forget things. It was almost, they say, for some people, when it really gets in there, it's almost like having Alzheimer's. And again, it just depends on where the bacteria settles. Some people, it settles in their brain, and that's where it builds up, and that's where it affects them. Some people, it affects their heart. you see people dying from this disease because it gets in their heart or it gets in their brain, causes encephalitis, your brain swells, and that's it. And you read about it a lot, more than, I mean, now that I'm aware of it, I see it all the time. You see postings, and especially when you follow some of the advocacy groups, you know, you see these stories about, you know, people losing their lives, and you know, from one way or the other, it either gets too much, the pain gets too much, and it consumes them. We talk about the darkness and stuff like that. And for me, it was anxiety. I had a horrible anxiety attack where I was laying on the floor, just crawling, scratching at the ground because I couldn't breathe. You know, and my body is just failing. It's just not doing what I want it to do, but I'm cognitively aware of everything that's going on. It was terrifying. Mm-hmm. You know, and my brain is saying, snap out of this, start breathing, do something. And my body's like, nope, it was checked out. And you're aware of it. And it's like, God, I'm dying. You know, this is what it's like. This is really it, you know. And my wife is, you know, kneeling, praying. I mean, it was terrifying. Wow. It was the scariest I've ever been in my life. And I've had some pretty scary stuff happen. And it was just, when you sit there and realize that this is it, you know, you might not make it through this, you know, it's, and then you make it through it, you know, and then it's eye opening. It's like, wow, okay, I need to rethink my life, and I need to refocus what's important to me, and that's been the blessing, that's been the godsend out of all of this, and I think this is how God has touched me with this and sent a message that, you know, there's some really important things in my life, and there's 4 little ones running around, you know, and my best friend. And that's what's important to me. And that's the benefit of all of this. The takeaway that I've taken out of this is I've realized what's important. You know, I realize what I want to do with my life and where I want to focus my efforts. And it's on my wife and kids. And it's getting them outside and doing stuff outdoors, teaching my kids how to hunt and fish, and just making those memories with them. And, you know, and that's what I got out of this. So it's not been a negative thing for me. And that's kind of the weird thing about it, is feeling so horrible, but having a positive mental attitude about it. And it's kind of weird when you see somebody that feels terrible but doesn't act like it, you know. And that's kind of been the hard thing for people to accept. Like, you're really, really sick, but you don't sound sick. And it's like, well, you know, but that was my choice, you know. And I'd feel terrible, but I knew that I felt terrible because the treatment's working. It's like, yeah, I feel horrible and I can't get out of bed for a week, but I'm killing bacteria. So yeah, you know, let's do this. Let's go back and do it again. You know, come on. But what makes me hurt is that people go, you know, like Ken was talking about, you know, 30 years dealing with that kind of just miserableness. I can't even imagine doing it that long. I mean, I've done it for 18 months and was ready to check out one time, and it was like, man, you know, and that, I guess that's why I'm real comfortable talking about it, because there's a whole lot of people that are suffering and have suffered a heck of a lot more than what I went through. They've been doing their whole lives and not getting any help, or can't afford to get the help, you know. And, you know, because a lot of the doctors that do this don't even take insurance because it's not covered by insurance.
Oh, is this not covered by?
A lot of it's not. All the stuff I'm doing, and I didn't mention that, but it was all out of pocket. The blood tests are covered by insurance, but the treatment
is not.
$100 a pass.
Wow.
You know, and so
interesting. I mean,
yeah, you know, the last treatment I got was, you know, right at $1,000.
Wow.
Kevin, you're the third person I've heard of that has got it in Texas, that knows they've got it in Texas.
Yep.
And it's the third time I've heard this story of how much it affects you and how much it takes you down.
Yeah.
I think that's the. So if somebody gets bit or you find a tick, what do you do next?
Don't freak out. First of all, don't panic. If you, like I said, if you get bit by a tick and it's, you know, you've been out playing around outside, or you've been out hunting or filling figures or whatever, or just hiking, you know, you get home, do a check. Have your, you know, if you're married and have a partner, have your partner check you, and, you know, hands up, and turn around and look under where it needs to look, and because
that's where they go.
They go where, they go in the folds, and your armpits are, you know, down below, you know, and that's where they're going to go because they don't want to get found.
Yeah, or they're like belt line or
back of your hairline.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll go to areas where there's a little bit of compression kind of thing because the surface, below the surface, is food for them in those situations. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times that's where you'll have, you know, tick type problems. we talked a little bit about the treatment, and when we did the other, we talked a little bit, the other being when we did the vlog here with Ken's show, is we talked about how to prevent some of this. And I mean, you mentioned checking yourself when you get back in, or having somebody check for you, kind of thing, if you need to. But you mentioned a product that's put out by Sawyer's that I absolutely swear by.
It's the greatest stuff in the world, and
I'd really appreciate you telling those who are listening, watching, whatever, about what you can do. And I will tell you up front that using this in no way affects how animals react to you, other than the insects and the ticks that you're dealing with. So, what do you use?
If you're a fan of the Thermacell, and I don't do too many plugs on here, but when I'm bow hunting, I've got a Thermacell sitting underneath my seat, and it doesn't bother the deer. But the Thermacell it burns permethrin.
Yes.
And permethrin is the active ingredient in this Sawyer stuff. It comes in a yellow bottle. You can get it anywhere. I get it off of Amazon because I can, buy a bunch of them for cheaper. But Walmart, I mean, anywhere, just about any kind of store that sells sporting goods stuff.
Camping, if they sell camping equipment, generally there's a really
Academy,
good chance.
Walmart, Cabela's, Bass Pro, any of those.
What else?
But it's a spray, but it's not like off that you spray on your skin. You spray it on your clothes and let it dry. And it is a tick repellent. They literally will I've watched them crawl up my boot and drop off, and it gives them hot foot, and they just jump off. And so we treat. I've got some snake gaiters that I wear that I strap on when it's hot, and when I'm out there in the spring and summer, I got my shorts and either my snake boots or my snake gaiters, and both of those are treated. My tennis shoes are treated, pants are treated. If it's really ticky outside, we've had ticks drop out of trees on us, which is terrifying, And so now, hat, shirt, everything gets treated. You treat the outside of it, let it dry, put it on. You can wash it, like you were saying, like 5 times, and it holds its strength.
It does. It's an amazing product. I mean, we're talking about tick-borne diseases here, but if you ever spend any time down the south and southeast and dealt with the chiggers, or what we used to call red bugs, I mean, those things are horrible, because a dear friend of mine, Jim Zumbo, says, I'll face a sow grizzly with cubs any day as opposed to one chigger.
Man, when you get from the knees down, the chiggers get all over you, it's just the belt line. It's the war.
Exactly. But treating and it lasts for days. But treating your clothes with that will, we literally roll spring turkey hunting, or like I mentioned in the one that we did the vlog earlier for with the show, with your show, is that I've had it on. I've sprayed my clothes down with it hunting in Africa, in the tall grass of Africa for buffalo. And you look down in the khaki clothes that you're wearing, you can't hardly see it for a moment because you're covered with larval stages of what carries tick fever there.
Seed ticks with it.
What we call seed ticks. And you see it, and before you could wipe it off, they're dead and they're falling off.
Wow.
And I was wearing it around my neckerchief, and I'm wearing gloves and hat. I'll treat my hat or cap if I'm wearing a cap. And that has so far, I've had several friends that have gone to Africa and ended up with tick fever, and I know several people, not only here in Texas, but elsewhere, that have had Lyme's disease. And those guys now, I'll tell you what, and ladies too, every bit of clothing when they go out. And you don't have to be out in where it really kind of showed up first was in the backyards of people's homes in Pennsylvania. And it was carried there by the
deer come through, and
they like tall grass, don't they? Don't they like to be in grass?
Well, because they'll crawl up to the end of it and wait till you brush by, and then they're on you.
Yeah, so
they're just horrible little.
Oh gosh, I hate ticks.
Anybody out there that's shooting possums, stop killing possums, because they eat ticks. They eat a ton of ticks.
That is an absolute. Thank you for bringing that up.
Possums I used to think they used to weird me out, and they're just weird looking creatures. But boy, they will eat a ton of ticks.
Well,
so
they are.
Leave them alone.
That's what they're good for.
Well,
that's what they're good for.
Dan, in our part of the country where I live, not that far off Texas Gulf Coast, where we have fire ants. They kill ticks. And since we've had the infestation of fire ants, which I don't really like, to be honest with you, But we no longer see ticks on our cattle or on dogs or anything, or even the deer in that area, because there are virtually hardly any ticks left, and it's all due in part to the fire ant.
Mm-hmm. That's my buddy. Wow. They have property in Comal County, and I've hunted out there.
Yeah.
There's no ticks on the deer out there. Hogs too. They've got hogs, running around there, and just in the last few years, and you kill a hog out there, and maybe a couple of ticks.
But
you go out to Menard County. Some of those pigs, you don't even want to touch them. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. So like you roll them over and get ready to skin them out, and it's like, oh my gosh! And then you see them crawling around, and as you're skinning them, you feel them crawling down your arm. It's like I'm all for eating everything you kill, but it makes you not want to pull the trigger on some of those nasty pigs, and.
Or a javelina.
There is a line there.
There is a line there. You're right. There is a line there.
Javelinas are good too.
They're such cool little animals.
They're fun to stalk though with bow and arrow. Catch one out there on the sendero and you sneak up on them, and because they just can't see anything.
No, but you know what? Sometimes
it's a whole lot easier to shoot them at 200 yards.
Well, I was going to say though. I mean, sometimes you'd be surprised what they pick up on. I mean, I don't think
they can hear.
They can hear extremely well. Of course, their sense of smell is good, and I think sometimes they can actually see a little bit better than we give them credit. Yeah. Particularly movement. I mean, if you're slow,
and there's always the one that's on guard duty.
Oh yeah.
Everybody else is eating happy, eating all your corn, and there's that one he's always up front, and it's like the doe. There's always that one mama doe that just stands behind you and raises heck the whole time you're hunting, and that's the one you want to get. But yeah, and the javelinas do the same thing. They put a guard out there, and he watches.
This would be a good time to hear from our friends at DSC.
And I know we're a little bit ahead of time, but the Dallas Safari Club is having their Heritage Convention this year, January 9th through 12th, at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Center there in Dallas. Now, if somebody's never been there before, you need to go, because if you love the outdoors, you love anything having to do with hunting, fishing, conservation, great things there as far as art when it comes to people who enjoy art, unbelievable taxidermy, a little bit of everything that's involved with the outdoors. Now, if you've never been there, you really need to go, but don't think you're just going to go there for, I'll just go there for the afternoon, because that almost entire convention center is filled with booths, and I mean they'll be through the doors that 4 days of January 9th through the 12th. There'll be 40,000 people coming.
Good gosh.
And there'll be over 1,800 booths there as well. So, I mean, there's so many great things there to see, great place to meet friends. And like I said, if you've been there before, you're going to be there probably at least 2 or 3 days. Because don't just plan on spending, as I said, that one afternoon. But it's the 9th through 12th. It starts on Thursday of January. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Doors open like at 9 or 10 and shut down like at 6 each day except for the last day. And you can buy a day pass while you're there. So you don't have to be a member of DSC, although we'd love for everybody that comes to become a member, because of how important DSC is in conservation and education and protecting our hunters' rights. But as I said, don't have to be a member, but it's a great opportunity to spend time with people who love the same things that you and I do, and it's a relatively cheap in terms of day pass. And one of the things I love is the fact that you see so many young people there. I'm talking about little kids to guys actually that are a little bit older than I am, kind of thing. So, if you haven't already made plans, please make plans to be there. There are hotels around the area. The Omni is the host hotel, but I suspect it's filled up by now. But there's all kinds of hotels in that area, and it is just an opportunity to spend some great time with people, learn from seminars, learn from things we have on the conservation stage, meet all kinds of people in the industry, and meet friends that you've had for a long time. And you'll be surprised how many friends you'll make during the time that you're there. But if you want to learn more about it, please go to www.biggame, that's BIGGAME.org. Look forward to seeing you there.
And we'll see y'all there, guys. Y'all be good.
Hi, everybody. Blake Barnett here, co-host of DSC's Trailing the Hunter's Moon, found on the Pursuit channel. I've got a message here. I get a lot of questions about joining the Dallas Safari Club. Do you have to be a safari hunter to join the Dallas Safari Club? And the answer is no. If you're the squirrel hunter, if you're a wing shooter, maybe you only go dove hunting once or twice, but you support the hunting way of life. Dallas Safari Club is a great organization to join because our mission is not only wildlife conservation through the hunting model, but supporting hunter rights, hunter advocacy, and hunter education. So come join me and my good friend Larry Wise soon and become a member of the Dallas Safari Club.
But I tell you, I've been so thankful for javelina down in South Texas at times. I know there's sometimes you cuss them bad. But there's sometimes when we've been down there, we haven't seen a bird. There's nothing moving, and then the javelina come in, you're like, oh, thank gosh. At least I can see something, It's like, exactly. All right, now I got something to watch. And it's like, well, stupid javelina, but at least I'm seeing something,
I want to go back to the Lyme disease thing very quickly here. Before we
have ticks.
I mean, Ken and I have, as if you listen to the podcast, which I think you have.
Oh, yeah.
We have a tendency to roam to cover a whole lot of territory. Which we love. I love doing that. But there are different organizations out where people can learn more about Lyme disease.
Yes.
And I know there's some websites. There's one here in Texas. Can you give us that one? But there's also probably others.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm sure they're nationwide. Facebook has tons of support groups. I mean, for anything you want to be supported in, there's a group. So there's a few Facebook support groups. Where I got my help from and where I found a doctor was the Texas Lyme Disease Association, txlda.com. You can call them, you can send in an email, tell them your story, and they will find you a doctor in your area. And for me, for New Braunfels, the closest place was up in Marble Falls. But there's Houston, Denton. I mean, kind of the major metropolitan areas. If you're in one of the kind of the three main areas, and if you're way out west, kind of El Paso or way down in the valley, you may have to do some traveling. But there are doctors in Texas. There's several where you can call in and get recommended or referred.
What's that website again?
It's the Texas Lyme Disease Association, txlda.com.
Okay,
is the website. You can go there and they can recommend a doctor or get you in touch with somebody that can get you in touch with somebody. So that's kind of where I went, and that was my first place after I did some listening on Facebook and just kind of hearing what's going on and kind of what people are doing, and it's like, yeah, this is definitely the route I need to go because I wasn't getting anywhere with just regular general practice. So and she's a general practice physician. She treats people up there, but one of her specialties is she's Lyme's literate.
Yeah, well, I know, and that's what the Lyme's literate is very important because there's a lot of doctors that I've run into over the years that become Lyme literate.
Yeah.
And now,
by necessity.
Initially, I mean, they were, like I said, so very often it can be like a flu-like symptom, aches and pains, and you go to the doctor possibly, and they go, yeah, it's just some kind of little virus or bacterium that's running through.
They're getting old.
Yeah.
You'll be over it and so on and so on. Well, you don't necessarily get over it. So if that is a situation, I think it's very important that if you have kind of a chronic, you really ought to see a doctor.
Or pain or
particular joint aches,
like fibromyalgia. People you've been diagnosed with that, and it's still going, and you're not getting any help. Go talk to somebody about Lyme's because it's one of the deals. Like I get it across the back of my shoulders. It feels like you've been out in the sun and you've got a really like one of those second-degree kind of sunburns, and you put a shirt on and it kind of rubs across your back. How it just hurts. Like I tell my wife, it's like somebody hit me with a 2x4 across the back of the shoulders. Just pow! It just aches. That's when that's my kind of telltale is when the back of my shoulders hurt.
Right.
Like that bad sunburn. Then I know that I'm really starting to react pretty bad. I had it yesterday after the treatment, and I looked at my wife. I'm like, I'm gonna go crawl in bed for a while.
Yeah.
I know as soon as I start feeling that, I'm running out of energy quick. So.
But like even things like this zap you pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Just
like
getting out.
Getting out of bed. I mean, I'm surprised how much energy I still have. This is actually really cool for me to see here because I'm very aware of what my body can do and my energy levels and stuff like that. And it's made me very mindful about that, which is again a benefit. Most people aren't very mindful about what their bodies are saying to them. And you talk to most people that have Lyme's, and they are really, really in tune with what their bodies are doing and what they're putting into their bodies. And you got to eat healthy. You got to put good things into your body, and your body will heal itself. It really, the human body is capable of some amazing things, but we're doing as much damage to ourselves as kind of nature is by what we put in us. And that's one big thing that my doctor pushes is nutrition too.
Isn't the treatment basically focused on having your immune system do the work?
Yeah. So it's replacing vitamins and minerals. They do. I got a 7-page blood test report back on all. They test everything. And so they found out I was deficient in vitamin D, vitamin B. All my B vitamins were way low. So she's got me on B vitamins and vitamin D, vitamin K. There's a vitamin C drink makes my kids love it. It's like peach lemonade flavored, and it's just citric acid. That's all it is. It's just like lemonade, But my kids are like, hey, can we have some vitamin C water? Sure,
Absolutely.
Lo and behold, my kids haven't been sick at all in the last 2 or 3 months since I've been doing this. It's amazing stuff. But yeah, it's giving your body what it needs in order to heal itself, and then using the ozone to kill it off as much as it can and get it into remission, and then have your immune system keep it.
I don't know. I've read up on it a bit because of a recent exposure, but that is probably some of the best prevention too, having yourself be healthy.
Just being healthy, yeah. And my doctor has a big theory that there's people that carry it their whole lives and never show symptoms because their immune system keeps it in check. It's a bacterial infection. It's still bacteria, and if you've got a strong immune system, there's a chance you could never, ever, ever be symptomatic, or feel bad.
Unless you get weak or something.
Or unless you get sick or you get bit a couple of 2 or 3 times and it, does it build up in your body,
Or
I don't
got
know.
bit when your rhythm was low.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so, it's so different for every single person, and that's what makes it I'm sure as a physician just makes it maddening to try to diagnose and treat, because 4 of us in here, we could all 4 have it and it would affect all 4 of us differently.
Right.
We may have some similarities, but the fringe stuff is it's entirely dependent on you.
So right now what we need to be telling people, if they're listening to us, is that if you have some kind of something that's keeping you run down, now not a cold or not a flu, this is that you would get over that.
Yeah.
This is something that's going to be ongoing, and
if you've been feeling bad for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, you've got really bad arthritic joint pain. It's 5 weeks ago I was walking with a cane and needing a cane to just ambulate, to get up out of the chair. And it was literally I would roll over at night in bed and wake my wife up, because just rolling over in bed I would just scream. It was uncontrollable. I would try not to. And it's just so painful just to flip-flop around in bed that I would just cry out in pain. It truly is miserable. And the fact that people have dealt with this for 25, 30 years,
if anybody has these pains, they ought to get hold of the Lyme's disease.
Go get tested. Go see a doctor, and and the blood test could show it or could not. A lot of times, from what I understand, and this is my knowledge, is that it's really being diagnosed clinically now based on symptoms. So go talk to a doctor, talk about your symptoms. There's literally a checklist where they go through and rate it 1, 2, or 3. 1, I don't have this symptom. 3, it affects me every day. 2, yeah, sort of. And they go through, and it's, I met with my doctor. We talked for over an hour about just symptoms. And then they scale it, and if you score high enough on that scale, then yes, then they clinically diagnose you as having Lyme's. And that's what I finally was able to do, is talk to a physician that gave me that test, and it wasn't a blood test; it was a verbal. We talked about it, But be proactive about it. Go out and enjoy the outdoors, be outside, but treat your clothes.
Right.
It's literally that simple.
Right.
This could be, I could have prevented this had I taken that one step. Now we all do. All the guys that I hunt with, we treat up. And if that's something that I can do spread the word and help somebody else not go through this, then heck yeah, let's get the word out. But
you raised my level of awareness.
But it's not something to be afraid of.
It's not. Don't be fearful to the point to where you don't go outside.
And that's the other thing that it's taught me is you can't live your life that way because life is just too dang short. And so go out and enjoy and do, but buy a $6 bottle of spray and it could literally save you tens of thousands of dollars in treatments later on.
Plus all the misery that you go through in the meantime and those who are around you.
The main thing is what we really want to say here is listen to Kevin, learn from him, see what, and if you can relate to him, and it's been going on for a while, you should go have this checked out and see. And if that's part of it, then yes.
Then go get treated. And there's treatments out there that work, and there's some really new stuff on the market that's, it's been around, but there's a lot of trials going on and a lot of people taking it, and it's having some amazing results. The disulfiram, I've probably butchered it, but it's antabuse that they use for alcoholism. And it is just, they found out that, the top 4 antibiotics that they use for Lyme's, antabuse hands down beats all of them.
Wow.
Almost completely eradicates it. So, there's lots of clinical studies and stuff going on now, and there's a lot of people that have been on it, that have taken it, that have had very, very positive results. So there's a lot of buzz going on that I've read on the Facebook pages in the Lyme's community about this drug and about its application for this specific disease.
But you can't have a beer.
No, you're pretty much, if you enjoy any alcohol. So, but that's.
Well, there may be side benefits to it.
I'll tell you, I could put it off for a few months just to get rid of this. Not having a beer versus Lyme's.
So one of the main things here, we on Untamed Heritage we always talk hunting, fishing, and now we're in it's like hunting and fishing, only it's part of what we do for fun. This is something that could happen to our listeners. This is something that we're wanting to help them see, yes, there is a way. Maybe you ought to go have this checked. If it's got an ongoing thing with you, have something done, and thank Kevin.
Absolutely, Kevin. We want to get you back on the show here in the future and just kind of check up on your progress.
Man. I'd love
and
to.
There's always new things coming out, and obviously you're staying on top of it. So thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate it.
And
definitely.
We look forward to seeing everybody kind of around the campfire kind of thing here on the next episode of DSC's Untamed Heritage.
Thank y'all, family.
DSC's Untamed Heritage is brought to you by Dallas Safari Club,
Conservation Education Protecting Hunters' Rights,
Ruger,
Rugged Reliable Firearms,
Hardity,
Accurate Diddly Dependable,
Trijicon,
Brilliant Aiming Solutions,
Burnham Brothers Calls,
Calling Us Calls Made,
Texas Wildlife Association,
Working for Tomorrow's Wildlife Today,
Texas Raised Hunting Products,
The Scent Gods,
www.trailingthehuntersmoon.com,
the Hunter Conservation website,